Yeah, Catherine, we were notified just before 4 o'clock today by a court spokesperson that the jury members had a question. Now, they had two previous questions that were addressed by the judge. Well, less than an hour later, the jury returned to the courtroom, and the judge shocked all of us by announcing that there wasn't a question. In fact, the jury had returned a verdict. But it turns out that this, quote, verdict, it wasn't a decision at all. In fact, it actually spoke to the jury's indecision. No unanimous agreement is what will go down on the record for this jury. And with that, Judge Sherry Stevens, she thanked the jury, told them they were now free to discuss the case, and dismissed them from their more than 5-month-long jury service.
Ladies and gentlemen, I understand you have reached a verdict. The bailiff will please approach with the verdict.
Jodi Arias' family was not in the courtroom for the announcement. Arias herself sat still and largely emotionless as the news was delivered.
State of Arizona versus Jodi Arias, sentencing verdict. We, the jury, duly impaneled and sworn in the above entitled action upon our oaths, unanimously find, having considered all of the facts and circumstances, that the defendant should be sentenced. No unanimous agreement. Signed, foreperson.
The family of victim Travis Alexander clearly looking displeased. His sisters breaking down into tears. No comment from them today. The clerk then polled the jury to make sure everyone agreed that they couldn't agree.
Juror number 3, is this your true verdict? Yes. Juror number 4, is this your true verdict?
Yes. The judge then offered thanks to the jury. These jurors were chosen before Christmas last year. They've sat in the courtroom every week for almost 5 months, warned every day to not talk about the case and to steer clear of the media. But that's all over now.
The admonition is now lifted. You are free to talk about the case or not talk about it as you wish.
The judge offered private thanks to the jurors behind closed doors. Attorneys for both sides had the opportunity to speak to those willing to discuss the case. For her part, Jodi Arias hugged the mitigation specialist on her legal team before being taken out of the courtroom and hauled back to her cell in the Maricopa County Estrella jail.
Well, after months of sitting in the courtroom, the jury in the Jodi Arias trial is now free. And our cameras were rolling as we caught the first glimpse of the men and women who decided Arias' fate. We caught them getting off a bus escorted by sheriff's deputies. It seems everyone is now wondering how they came to their decision. CBS 5's Colton Schoen has more.
Hours after the deadlock verdict came down, one of the jurors walked out of the courthouse. It didn't take long for this guy to be surrounded by cameras. CBS 5 asked him what it was like to be part of such a high-profile case.
Can you tell us what you're thinking about all this right now?
No comment.
I mean, why didn't you put Jodi Arias to death?
No comment.
What was the breakdown? That's all we want to know. What was the breakdown?
No comment.
The nameless man in the long gray ponytail whipped out his e-cigarette, took a puff, and continued toward the light rail station.
Do you think that Travis Alexander's family now has justice?
He bought himself a pass.
Did you buy of any what Jodi Arias said during her 19-minute-long speech?
We asked why he would come out of the front of the courthouse in front of all these cameras. He responded with,
You're a jury, you know.
Bailiff will ask the clerk will ask.
So what is next? Court set a status conference for June 20th. The judge set a retrial for July 18th, and a new jury will be seated. And Jodi Arias will stay in the Maricopa County Jail.
Now, if County Attorney Bill Montgomery goes ahead and retries the penalty phase of this case, one of the biggest challenges, of course, will be finding a new impartial jury. And even if they do it, CBS 5's Jason Berry tells us there's no guarantee that we wouldn't end up with the same result.
Is this your true verdict, so say you want to know?
If the county attorney retries the penalty phase of the case, a new jury will have to be brought in.
What's the next step?
And Valley trial consultant Deborah Johnson tells us that won't be easy with so much media attention surrounding the case.
I don't know if you're going to find a jury that hasn't heard about the case. I think the question is how far on one side or the other are they? And can you find people who say and who legitimately believe that they could be neutral in this thing, that they could listen to the evidence and weigh it and make a good decision based on what they hear in the courtroom?
Johnson believes the court may have to search for jurors outside Maricopa County or possibly outside the state. But experts insist even if you find an impartial panel of jurors, there's still the problem of finding 12 people to agree on whether someone should or should not be put to death.
Well, the challenge you have is the jury's going to be told you're only deciding whether she lives or she dies, not whether she's guilty or innocent or whether it was heinous, cruel, or depraved. So think about that. I mean, this is for real. You will decide somebody's fate, and that's all you're here to decide. Very difficult.
It's also possible the county attorney could decide to pull the death penalty off the table and let the judge sentence Arias to life in prison and avoid having the case drag out even longer. Jason Berry, CBS 5 News.